What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for life, coming at you on YouTube, and tonight I've got some football focus. The Pittsburgh Steelers just finished their night game playing for their playoff lives against the Baltimore Ravens on the road in the Week 17 matchup, divisional matchup, in the 2022 NFL season. And once again, it's Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. You know what it's going to be. It's going to be tight, physical, angry, aggressive, close, down to the wire. And why do the Steelers do this to me every year? I just want to complain for a second. It's a new year. Happy New Year. It's New Year's Day. This game got flexed into primetime as it should have. And once again, this new year starts off just the way that every year does for the Steelers, giving me a freaking heart attack. Why do they? It seems like they've been playing for the 6 or 7 seed every season for the past 6 years. It doesn't matter whether it's Ben's last season, Kenny's first season. It doesn't matter who's on the team or what the situation is. Pittsburgh is always in contention and on the verge of that playoff spot in the last 2 weeks of the year. And it's always down to the last week of the season, and we always need multiple things to happen. More often than not, we get those things to happen. Somehow luck is always on our side, combined with our rallying ability, and that's what Pittsburgh needed starting this week and finishing next week. Pittsburgh came into this week at 7-8. Baltimore came into this game without Lamar Jackson once again, who did not play in this game. Didn't play in the first matchup either, which Baltimore won by 2, but Kenny Pickett didn't play in that game because on the first series, maybe even the first play or two, he got injured, and Mitch Trubisky came in and threw 3 picks, and Baltimore edged out the Steelers by 2 points. So, no Lamar Jackson for the Ravens. Pickett was back for the Steelers. We knew it was going to be tight. Coming into the game, 2 things had to happen for our game to be relevant, and that was the Patriots beating the Dolphins, who played without Tua today, and also Bridgewater got hurt as well, so the Dolphins were on their 3rd-string quarterback. Patriots did beat the Dolphins, and also the Seahawks had to beat the Jets, which they did. So all Pittsburgh had to do to stay in contention for the last week of the season was beat Baltimore on the road in prime time. What a big stage. Could Kenny Pickett do it again after last week? We saw him driving down the field in those negative wind chill temperatures last week for a game-winning touchdown pass. Could he do it again? We'll talk about it. Game was very close. It was a 3-point game, as it always is, 1 possession with these 2 teams, and we almost made a really costly mistake that could have cost us our game and our season by extension. But I will start off by saying this in my overall review of this game. I'm going to say this on this channel because I only have 280-something subs, and I'm not monetized, so I can say this. Kenny motherfucking Pickett. Kenny motherfucking Pickett, right? He's got some of that dog in him, as Mike Tomlin likes to say. Kenny Pickett is growing on me week after week because he keeps us in games with a slow but steady offense. The running game keeps improving. The backup players, guys like Connor Hayward and Jaylen Warren, keep making plays. We're seeing running between the tackles in that old Steeler football. Kenny Pickett is managing the game for the most part in the last 6 or so weeks with very few turnovers. We're playing smart football. We're controlling the clock. We're playing old school Steeler football. And Kenny Pickett picks the biggest stages and the right moments to make big time plays. We saw it on the last game-winning drive of last week. We saw it on tonight's game-winning drive. As Kenny Pickett goes into Baltimore in his first full divisional matchup against the Ravens in prime time, playing for his season. This was a playoff game. The next 2 weeks are essentially playoff games Pittsburgh has to win to be in, among other things. And Kenny Pickett, once again, drives down the field 80 yards for a game-winning touchdown pass 2 weeks in a row. The stage couldn't have been bigger, and Kenny couldn't have looked better when it really, really counted. All in all, on offense, again, decent day, but again, you're playing Baltimore in a primetime game. It's going to be a defensive battle. There's going to be yards and points are going to be hard to come by, and they were. Pittsburgh gets the win 16-13. Defensively, I love what they did for the most part. Baltimore did get 2 players really shining today. We'll get into it. I'm going to start with the stats first. Kenny Pickett, very average day today. Nothing special on either side. 15 of 27, 168 yards, 1 touchdown, which is the game winner with 1 minute to go in the game, and no interceptions, and that's a big number. Kenny Pickett not turning the ball over, driving us down the field and picking big moments to get big plays, that's what you want out of a young quarterback. Smart decisions are the ways that young athletic quarterbacks get better in the NFL, and we're seeing Kenny Pickett get better now for the past 6 weeks in a row. I really like what I've been seeing out of Kenny Pickett. These last 2 games, And I don't want to seem hyperbolic here. I don't want to get too saccharine sweet here too early in Kenny's career, because you guys know 6, 7, 8 weeks ago I was saying I wasn't sure if he was the franchise guy, and I'm still not. It's too early to tell, right? But for him to come down that game-winning drive that he did, and again, not much was happening passing the ball. A couple of things should have been caught. A couple of things where Deontay dropped one on the sidelines. Another one he didn't drag his foot on. There was another one that Pickens should have had. So nothing special out of Kenny for 3/4 of this game. Excuse me. So the game was really on the back of my MVP tonight, Najee Harris, and a excellent performance from Jaylen Warren. This is one of Najee's best games as a Steeler, including his best game this year, and Jaylen Warren's best game of his NFL career so far. Those two guys played great and carried this offensive team. But Kenny Pickett had 80 yards to go with about 3.5 minutes to go, drove us down the field, extended the play, scrambled to the outside, found Pat Freiermuth for a 20-yard play, avoided a sack, scrambled to the outside, threw back a dart across the middle of the field, right to Steven Sims, who leapt up and caught it in the middle of the field for another 20-plus yard play. A bunch of good runs, and then Kenny Pickett on the game-winning drive comes out. I think Dan Moore Jr. was the one that got blown up. The guy comes around. I think it was Pierre Paul from the ex-Giants player. Comes over, grabs Kenny by the jersey. Kenny spins out, breaks off the hard tackle, gets the guy off his jersey, throws to the outside. Najee Harris gets the catch over the guy's head, 2 feet down in the end zone for like the 10 to 12 yard touchdown. Very reminiscent of Ben Roethlisberger, just like last week. Those game-winning drives, that scrambling around to extend the play, that breaking tackles and pulling guys off your jersey that are bigger and stronger than you, that reminds me of Ben, and it's starting to remind me of Kenny Pickett. And that's the stuff you want to see. Guys being able to extend the play smartly, not turning the ball over, taking the smart play, going to his checkdowns, looking downfield when he's running. Instead of running first, he looks to pass first. These things I've been talking about over the past 6 weeks are now coming together. And he's looking better and better as we go along, and now he's able to put it together clutch. He's trusting in Pat Freiermuth as a guy down the field. He's putting the ball up and giving Deontay a chance. We got to still target George Pickens more, but he has his plays. This offense is coming together, and Kenny Pickett's not afraid of the big moments. 2 weeks in a row now, 2 must-win games, 2 game-winning long touchdown drives. That's what I want to see from Kenny Pickett. I like where we are. Running the ball, 2 stars of the day. Najee Harris, 22 carries, 111 yards, 5 yards a carry. He ran like a man possessed today. Also, 2 catches for 12 yards, including that game-winning touchdown. Excellent. Jaylen Warren, 12 carries for 76 yards at 6 yards a carry. Also, 3 catches for 22 yards. Najee Harris, these past 6 weeks or so, has turned into the MVP of this team. Again, I love what Kenny's doing. I love Pickens. Deontay's had good moments. Pat Freiermuth has been great. But the unsung heroes have been, well, the sung hero is Najee Harris over the past 6 weeks, who got himself healthy and has looked like the Najee of old. He's jumping over guys in the pile. He did a leaping play tonight. He's converting the short yardage stuff. There was a play that Kenny Pickett was going for a 3rd down conversion on a quarterback sneak. Najee came through, picked the quarterback up, and pushed Kenny through the pile. He's showing good blocking ability at times. He's showing good smarts on those sneaks, and he's running through tackles, and he's picking his leaps at the right time, and he's finishing strong, falling forward. Najee Harris, excellent day, 111, rushing the ball. 76 more for Jaylen Warren. You would have thought this team was the Ravens tonight. Jaylen Warren has been so valuable and comes near another 100 total yards on 15 touches tonight. You can't get much happier with your backup running back. He's catching the ball. He knows where to turn upfield and break tackles to get longer plays out of short plays. He's able to break tackles in crowds. He's able to stop and sit down in the zone when the quarterback's scrambling. He's giving Kenny Pickett a vision. He's looking at Kenny Pickett and finding him in a crowd over the middle of the field. He's sitting down in those weak spots of the zones, and he's giving Kenny a place, instead of getting a 10-yard sack, to turn it into a 4-yard pass. And then he takes that 4-yard reception, breaks a tackle, and turns it into a 10-yard gain. Taking lost plays into small gains, into big gains, all because Jaylen Warren has good vision, good tackle breaking ability, good speed, and he also finishes strong. Excellent stuff. Receiving-wise, nothing much to speak of. 3 guys with 30-plus yards, and that's it for the day. Only 168 on the through the air. That was Deontay Johnson, 3 for 36. Pat Freiermuth, 3 for 36. Deontay, 2 for 35. Steven Sims, 2 for 34. So not much to speak of there, although Pat Freiermuth once again has become the third down bailout guy for our quarterback, Kenny Pickett, which is what you like to see. This guy can be elite. We're seeing it in his route running. He had one really nice contested catch. I think it was a slant play where he was very covered, made a beautiful catch for a conversion, and then made the 20-yard play downfield where he broke off his route and came back to the ball. Excellent stuff from Pat Freiermuth. And Deontay could have had two more catches. One was a sideline drop on a bobble. The second one, he didn't get his feet down, so he had 35, but probably should have had like 65. And George Pickens, once again, is not being targeted enough. He made an excellent play in this game, and it was something where the play was broken off again. Freiermuth scrambled through it downfield, and Pickens goes up across the middle, makes a diving catch that is a beauty. Every single week, he's taking some play where he's targeted downfield on a deep play. He's covered all to high hell, and he finds a way with his athleticism, his high point ability, and his hands, catching the ball away from his body and holding on in traffic. There is nobody right now that I can see that's about as uncoverable, especially in traffic, as George Pickens. Get this guy the ball more. I'm going to say it every single damn week until you do it. Offensive line, overall, nothing too bad. Mason Cole did get blown up on a big minus 6-yard run for Najee at one point. And there was a play where, two plays in a row actually, one was Chuks Okorafor and one was Dan Moore, that they just blew past their guy and blew him off the ball. And Kenny Pickett, I think one was a sack and one was Pickett avoiding a sack to make a play. So thankfully we have an athletic quarterback this year that can get out of stuff like that, but the line had a couple of bad plays. But overall, I'm not going to complain. When Najee has 111 on the ground and Warren's got 76, I ain't going to complain too much. This unit playing healthy together all year is actually helping us a bit. I'm still not a big Dan Moore or Chuks guy, and I still could take or leave Dotson, but I'm seeing a little bit out of Moore and Dotson at certain points in this game tonight that I actually like. So I'm going to say much more positive tonight than negative for the offensive line. Defensively, a couple of guys in schemes I want to point out as a positive. So last time you saw Baltimore running all over us, J.K. Dobbins beat us to high hell. Gus Edwards beat us to high hell. Huntley had some rushing yards on us last time. That was their big game plan, was running all over us, breaking tackles, finding holes. And this time, the Pittsburgh game plan was very, very smart. Putting 6, 7, 8, 9 guys on the line, having an extra defensive lineman, having an extra guy just outside lined up in linebacker. They kept Devin Bush on the bench tonight. If you're noticing, the last several weeks, Robert Spillane's playing more and more and more, and Devin Bush is playing less and less. Miles Jack has been very quiet these last couple of weeks too. I don't know if he's just in the game less, in the scheme less, or if he's just playing injured, or if he's just not doing much, but he's been quiet. But nonetheless, he's still starting out there, and Robert Spillane's been taking more and more of the time. Tonight, Robert Spillane was listed as the only starter with Bush, and with Miles Jack, and Devin Bush was in very small relief because not only was Bush fully put behind Spillane tonight, but he was put behind Mark Robinson, the 7th-round pick, the undersized linebacker who's got speed and can really power some guys and tackle some guys down. They knew Baltimore was going to focus on run, so they took the two guys who were the best run stoppers on our team, Spillane and Mark Robinson, and they made the change in the lineup they should have. The schemes, the lineups, and the roster moves for this week were very smart defensively. That said, they didn't always work still. Passing the ball was not much for Huntley. Baltimore keyed on their best guy. They got the tight end, Mark Andrews, had 100 yards tonight. He's hard to cover. Spillane struggled a little bit. Mark Robinson, I think, gave one of the catches up. Devin Bush, on the only play that I saw him in all game, gave a deep play across the middle up to Mark Andrews. So we still did struggle, as we usually do, covering tight ends. It's our biggest weak spot, and Mark Andrews is their best offensive player. So I'm not surprised by that strategy. Aside from Mark Andrews, no one receiving did anything, so we did a nice job otherwise in pass defense. I like the play tonight of Cam Sutton. I thought Sutton was solid, and nobody else really did anything bad. And, of course, Minka Fitzpatrick is always great. So Sutton and Fitzpatrick stand out there. I want to give a few shout-outs. Robert Spillane was our defensive MVP tonight. Robert Spillane, what a difference maker. When you're playing against a running team and you know they're going to run downhill, that's Spillane's strength, and boy, did he show it. 8 tackles tonight, and he was all over the place, rushing the quarterback and especially in the run game. In spite of the fact that J.K. Dobbins still had a nice game. I think he had 96, 97 yards. I think he was just under 100. But again, Baltimore had like 235 yards against us last time, so I'm not going to complain about that. Gus Edwards didn't have anything, and Huntley had very little. So the only guy this time that got off on us was Dobbins, and he didn't get off on us nearly as much as he did last time. So while Dobbins still broke some plays and was untouched to the second level a couple times, it was nowhere near as bad as it was. So Dobbins and Andrews had good games, but everybody else was keyed upon. Spillane, like I said, really shined. Mark Robinson was involved overall, I think, in 8 tackles. He had 3 solos and I think 5 assisted. So he was all over the field too. Didn't do much pass coverage, and when he did, he was beat once or twice by Andrews, but nothing super egregious considering that matchup. And for his experience level, I thought he played very well tonight. He was around the quarterback, got a few pressures, was really good in the run game with Spillane. They made the right calls in formations and roster tonight on defense, which resulted in Baltimore only getting 1 touchdown. Let's talk about it. That 1 touchdown they got at the end of the half. So Cam Hayward gets a stop on 3rd down. Baltimore's about to run the clock down. There's like 10 seconds left. Baltimore's going to call timeout and bring Justin Tucker out to make the game at that time. Baltimore would have had 9 points. We would have had, I think it would have been 9-3 at that point, I believe. So Baltimore had conceded the drive. They were going to have Tucker kick the short field goal. He was going to make a field goal. But Cam Hayward was in a pile. The tackle was made. Everyone was trying to get up. They were pulling on each other. They were shoving. It was a typical chippy Pittsburgh-Baltimore matchup, and the referees called unsportsmanlike conduct on Cam Hayward, which gave the Ravens not only 15 yards or half the distance to the goal, but a first down, which then on the next play, Huntley found, maybe it was J.K. Dobbins, the running back for the touchdown, but he passed for a touchdown. So what was going to be a short Baltimore 3 points turned into 7. So that really could have broken the game wide open because we were down by 4 up until our last drive. Like the rest of the game, Baltimore had that 4-point advantage that was just over the field goal because of that penalty. I think it's a bad call. I don't think Cam was guilty. You saw they were all together in a pile. They were holding each other. Cam at one point was trying to get up and got pulled over onto the referee where he put his hand out to try and stop himself, and he accidentally bumped the referee. So I think that's incidental contact. I think that's Baltimore and Pittsburgh being Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I don't think you call that personally. I think it's a bad call, and I think it cost us 4 points and almost cost us the entire game. One more thing that almost cost us was Boswell did miss 1 field goal tonight. He was 3 of 4. I think he went for like a 48-yarder, and it bounced off the goalpost. In games against Baltimore, you know it's going to be a 1-possession game. Those field goals make a difference. So that touchdown gave Baltimore 4 extra points, and the missed field goal gave us -3. And the game was only a 16-13 game by a field goal. So that tells you how big that play could have been and how much it could have screwed us. I don't blame Cam for that. That to me is on the referees, but everyone's going to see it differently. So say what you will about that. TJ Watt started off slow in this game, but you can tell that he's getting healthier now. He's been playing for a while pretty quietly, and he hasn't done much stat-wise because you can tell that he's still banged up, but he makes everyone around him better. He gets Highsmith better. He gets Cam better. He gets the coverage downfield better. Everything about him being on the field makes us better. But tonight in the second half especially, Watt was back there on every single play. Whether he was being held, whether he was getting around to the outside, whether he was getting tackles for a loss, whether he was part of the run game, he was everywhere. He only finished the game tonight with like 2 or 3 tackles and 1 sack. He did get a nice sack tonight off the edge, like a steamroller. But his stats aren't going to show a whole lot besides 1 sack, but he was in there on a ton of plays toward the end of the game. What a good second half for TJ Watt. And the pressure in general then got better from everyone in the second half, which helped us stop the run game, get 2 key stops in the fourth quarter, and get the ball back to go down and later win the game with Kenny Pickett. So excellent job overall by the defense. Like I said, Mark Robinson played well. Minkah Fitzpatrick gets the game-winning interception. Huntley tried to force to the middle of the field. Minkah picked it off for the win. So Minkah with another pick. What a good season he's having. Spillane, Watt, Mark Robinson, Cam Sutton. Those are my standouts on defense. Boswell, 3 of 4. Everything else was great. Hit several nice field goals. Bounced the one off the post. Presley Harvin, solid day. 2 punts for 99 yards. Pinned Baltimore deep on one of the key drives that we got to stop on to reverse the field. So good game out of Presley Harvin tonight as well. Pittsburgh gets the win. They've now won 5 of 6. They've now gone to 8-8. So next week, we need 3 things to happen to get in the playoffs. Pittsburgh has to beat Cleveland at home, which I think we will. Pittsburgh's at home, playing for their season. Cleveland has not been great down the stretch, and Deshaun Watson is still getting himself back into football shape. I think Pittsburgh gets that win and goes to 9-8, and they're also playing besides for the playoffs to extend Mike Tomlin's winning season streak of his entire career in Pittsburgh. Also, what has to happen is that Miami loses to, Buffalo beats the Patriots. I think they will. They're playing for potential bye and home field advantage for the AFC, and Buffalo is 1A and 1B with Kansas City as one of the two best teams in the league. Patriots are okay, but nothing special. They're an average team. I think Buffalo gets that win. The one thing that scares me that has to happen is that the Jets have to beat the Dolphins. Now, again, the Dolphins are playing without Tua, and Teddy Bridgewater got hurt, so Skylar Thompson, the third quarterback, is in now. That points to the Jets being able to get that win. But they've been looking really bad and having their own quarterback issues with 3 different quarterbacks playing in the past 3 weeks. So whether it's Mike White or Zach Wilson or whoever else, the Jets beating the Dolphins is going to be the hardest one of the 3 pieces for us to go to the playoffs. But if those 3 things happen, Pittsburgh goes to 9-8, has another winning season, and goes to the playoffs. What'd you think of tonight's game? Who are your stars? Are you impressed with this win? Because I certainly am. Go Kenny Pickett, go Steelers. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this game, and do you think we're going to win next week? And are we going to get the help from the 2 teams that we need next week to get in? Tell me in the comments below. How close are we going to get? I'll see you guys next week. Go Steelers. Happy New Year.